What's good, everybody? This is Mr. Composition, the MC that writes fiction, and we're back at it with a movie review. And this one is for the new Jamie Foxx movie, Day Shift, on Netflix. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and notification bells on so you don't miss when I drop a new video. Now, be forewarned, there are spoilers ahead. Now, this movie is dope. I would say it is a combination between Blade and it almost gave me like Bright, the movie, the Netflix movie Bright vibes, but instead of freaking magic or whatever, it's vampires. Almost like this was really cool. So basically, it starts off. You see, Jamie Foxx has got this pool business as like an undercover thing. Off with him, cleaning out this pool, so it seems, and then he pulls out all these freaking weapons, and it's just all like, oh snap! So he goes into this house. Now, all this is taking place in L.A. So I feel like there was something with that as far as the blood suckers and then like almost the humans being Crips. Like there's almost like this blood and Crip allegory that goes on, especially considering Snoop Dogg's character and as far as him having like the blue flag and everything like that. So that was a little correlation that I'm not sure if they did on purpose, but considering the history with gang violence in LA, I thought that that was an interesting touch to put on there. But he's in this freaking house and he's after this vampire who is this old vampire. He thinks that it's an elder, and the thing is that he's able to get money for the teeth in this secret organization that goes around, and they have day and night shifts for hunters to go through and hunt these vampires. So he goes and has this epic fight, with this old lady. And he has these different gadgets and things that he uses. And, he defeats her all the while this other vampire comes in, gets decapitated because he has like this metal, thing that goes in. And so afterwards, he goes on to his apartment, which we find out later that him and his wife Megan Good are separated, and there's a lot of things that the child is needing, and he needs to come up with like $10,000 in like a week, or else the still considered wife and daughter are going to be moving to Florida. And he's just all like, he's in a desperate situation. So we find out that the union, which is a secret organization, he has been kicked out of it because he doesn't follow the rules, So before he even goes there, he goes to an old friend who is almost like, I would say, like a pawn shop almost. He gives the Jamie Foxx money for different valuable items that he has. And so he kind of messes with Jamie Foxx a little bit to, kind of get some money off of him. He like sells his favorite gun and his Jordan shoes. And the teeth that he had, he wasn't able to get much for them because he found out that the old vampire was like a year shy of being considered an elder, and so he can't go to the union because he's kicked out. So we he kind of calls in a favor from a friend in the union, which happens to be Stoop Dogg, which was super dope. I was all like, yo, this is hilarious. Now we find out that the realtor that's going around buying up the properties is actually an ancient, elder vampire, and she's kind of trying to take over and the land that the humans, quote unquote, took from them. she's trying to buy up the property and put the vampires in. Because of this situation and the desperateness of the situation, he ends up calling Snoop Dogg for a favor to get him another chance in the union. And he wants to, sell the teeth that, he recently got, but he wasn't able to get much for it. During all of this, the woman vampire, she finds out, and we find out that the old vampire that Jamie Foxx killed in the beginning was actually her daughter. Yikes. And so she's basically getting revenge and looking for him. And, there's this back and forth, a lot of things that go on. And we also find out, we get introduced to Seth, which is like a union representative for Jamie Foxx, who's played by Dave Franco. He did a really good job. They all pretty much did a really good job in this movie. And, he's this to the books type of guy, doesn't want to be out in the field with the vampires. He'll rather be at the desk. And he's trying to get this lady Carol's desk who keeps on eating his yogurt. And there was one part he was just all like, I'm a fart in my yogurt. And you're gonna be eating my farts. And so all this is going on. The main lady's trying to find, as far as Jamie Foxx. Well, she finds out who he is because he goes to Jamie Foxx's friend who has like the pawn shop or whatever. And honestly, shout outs to him because he was giving Jamie Foxx, crap, but he was a real one. He ended up still dying, but yo, she straight up pulled out all of his teeth and left like Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco end up going over there, find it as far as the like a bunch of people dead, and then sees his friend, and then Jamie Foxx's character's name, which is Bud, is spelled out in homie's teeth, and so Jamie Foxx is like, crap. She's going after my family, and I kind of knew, like, as soon as they introduced like his little daughter and everything like that, I was just all like, they're gonna take the daughter. Like I was like all the way at the beginning, and so he took his daughter as far as to this party, and the lady actually called him, had his number, and he's just all like, okay. So they end up having like this chase scene. He takes the daughter from the party, and this is what I was talking about as far as like it seems like she's been around him doing this before because she was playing like Mario Kart on the iPad, having the headphones on, and she's just like having the time of her life while freaking shooting and all the stuff going on. I thought that was interesting. So we get to a point where old girl takes his daughter and his wife, and they turned Seth. And I was all like, oh man, but the way that they ended up doing it, he ended up, I guess, being a good vampire. There are those that exist, which was cool. Their lore and everything in regards to the vampires are, interesting, except for the end, which I'm gonna get to, in a little bit. And so you know, Jamie Foxx is just all like, okay, because eventually, Seth had came back, to life, and he was like freaking out, and then he goes to try to attack Jamie and gets decapitated. But we find out that some vampires who get decapitated are still able to survive it. So he ends up putting his head back on. They end up going to this one chick's house who is a neighbor of Jamie Foxx, but he kind of had suspicions about her, but he didn't know, so he comes barging in there. she explains what's going on. She's like, I could take you. And she gives Seth, some blood, and he ends up being able to heal himself. So boom, they're ready for war. They go and head to old, lady's lair, and there's like a cool, like a bunch of fight scenes, like at a ball or something like that, that goes on. And then in the process of this, Seth is kind of like getting, he's fighting now. He's a vampire, he's kicking butt, everything like that. And I was like, okay, that's pretty dope. And we see um we see that going on, and Snoop Dogg's character ends up coming because Seth, tells them what was going on, which ended up being like their saving grace. Snoop Dogg comes in with this automatic, just mowing down vampires. I was like, yo, this is freaking dope. And they go, boom, we get towards the end, the climactic battle, and that was kind of, I get it. It was kind of anticlimactic though. I like the callback to the beginning as far as with the metal rope thing, but I was just all like, really? you know, all in all, I thought that the movie was actually good. It was good pacing. My only gripes, there are some gripes about it. So I didn't like that in like the first 5 minutes of this dang on movie, Jamie Foxx is in like a dress or a bobo. Like I get as far as like he had to get some clothes quickly as far as the leave or whatever, but it's like really there's this whole stigma as far as black men actors having to get on a put on a dress at some point. My other gripe was the whole, I understand that Jamie Foxx character got as far as, his wife and his daughter in this situation. But to go through all of that and then to find out, like, okay, so he's not like this liar and different things like that. Like, there's literally vampires in the world. You would think, and then he just like saved Yao. You would think that we would at least get like a passionate smooch, like you're not out you're not out the woods yet, but here's this, something like that. It was like it just rubbed me the wrong way. I was just all like, really? You gotta be like that sassy, you gotta be like that, come on now. And especially when there was focus on the fact that the daughter wants them to be together, of course. She gets a peck on the cheek and he's supposed to be satisfied with that. Like, come on, really? Come on, really? You see all these other movies, and this was a movie, like, I don't get why they like, is there this thing that's going on, not showing, people of color, black people like engaged in something passionate like that. You get all these other movies where the end, I'm not saying all of them, but I remember more times than not, at the end, crazy stuff going on, and there's that passionate, smooth, because you get it. You're just all like, yeah. And this, it was just like, the other thing that I thought was interesting. Okay, so um, there were several plot points I don't think that they, fully covered. Oh, there was a really dope scene with, I guess they have competitors basically, and there's these two brothers that their whole thing is like audio. His Jamie Foxx's pool, but they're like rivals, and so they all team up on this nest of freaking vampires. That whole scene was dope. But there were several plot points, like he had these garlic grenades that I don't think they ended up using. I think they ended up using it once, but I don't even think it was Jamie Foxx. I think it was the two brothers. So I didn't really like that. And another thing that was interesting was usually in vampire lore, when you kill the one that turned you, aren't you supposed to be able to go back normal in some cases? But that wasn't the case with old girl and Seth, played by Dave Franco. Another thing I thought was interesting was the fact that Snoop survived. Now, he had got like his neck ripped, and so I don't know. I can't remember if it was a bite or if it was a rip, but either he was supposed to turn or whatever, but he ended up surviving. And so I think that there might be a theory that maybe Snoop's character was a vampire the whole time, which I think would be interesting. I think it would be very, very interesting if that was the case. But all in all, this movie was very dope. It was very entertaining to see. What do y'all think? Did y'all end up seeing it? What was y'all's favorite parts? But it seems like it could be a series, honestly. Like I could see several more movies coming after this because they left several things like old dude who's still in the whatchamacallit, in the gravel, Seth's character. It would be cool if Seth and the other vampire, chick that was helping them ended up, getting together. I think that would be cool. And then at the end, the daughter was like, "I want to be a vampire hunter." So it sets a lot of things to where they could play around with it. But anyways, guys, this is Miss Composition, the MC that writes fiction. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and notification bells on so you don't miss when I drop a new video. Anyways, guys, peace.
Being ready for the return to fall. Maybe I should be asleep, but these full moon vibes got me in the deep. Emotional roller coaster strapped in my seat, ready for a trip to find what I seek. Passing through the galaxy into my office, translating thoughts into deep science. Got the sun in my pocket, build your resilience. So when the next winter cycle comes, I prepare with no losses. The work of the solo, it's a bar.